Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Carol, founder of the original Mine Pet Platter, with us today. And we are just so happy to have her. This product is so amazing. Once you learn about what it does, why she created it, and how it can help your pet, everyone is going to want to go out and get one. So, Carol, can you please introduce yourself a little and tell us why you developed it and your background?
My focus in education has always been psychology and sociology. And I went back and studied the ancestral eating behaviors of our pets, basically wolves and mountain lions. And we decided that there were healthy eating habits that needed to be reflected in their feeder. And that's how the whole pet platter came about.
And that's wonderful. And so many pet parents I know have trouble with having their animal have indigestion, bloating. So this is just one fabulous way that you can help your pet with this.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's really interesting because when you look at the bowl, it's a convenience for us, but it really doesn't do much to benefit the pet. They typically stand very rigid in front of the bowl because the food is contained in a small area. Then you're asking them to stick their head into a hole, which blocks their vision and creates anxiety. And because the food is piled high, they take in large clumps, which coagulate as it goes down, hitting the stomach, causing gas regurgitation, and even increases the chance of bloat. So it really is what we're doing to them. We're taking all of their instinctive traits away because they're just inhaling this food, and there's no mental or physical involvement, and they're done in seconds flat. So the best part of their day, which is eating, we're taking the instinctive traits away by just piling that up in a small bowl.
You had mentioned, I know, to me before regarding their digestive enzymes too, and how that plays a key in it, because I had mentioned that I know that their digestive tract is much shorter than ours.
Right.
So how do the enzymes play into that?
Yeah, unlike us, we have digestive enzymes in our saliva, but dogs do not. So after they take the food in, it's not starting to break down as it goes down the esophagus into the stomach. Digestion starts when it hits the stomach. So if they have large clumps of food coming down, because that large clump hits the stomach like that, that's when the enzymes start and you get all that gas and regurgitation starting to happen.
Right. And then when some dogs, again, vomit, it's like they vomit their food whole still because it hasn't processed yet.
Exactly. And it's really uncomfortable for them. And then it sort of develops almost a negative relationship with food because it does become painful for them to go through that.
Your dog Pip inspired the idea. Can you describe the aha moment?
Oh, there's always a aha moment, isn't there?
There is in business, yes.
Well, we have an adorable 14-pound little Havanese named Pip, and she had a habit of really inhaling her food and letting out a horrendous belch at times where if we had people over, they'd have tears streaming down their cheeks thinking, how could this little dog release this uncomfortable burp? So one night after I made her favorite chicken dinner, there were bits and pieces of chicken on the cutting board. And my daughter said, don't throw those away, Mom. Why don't we give them to Pip? So I put the platter down, cutting board on the floor, and Pip's instinctive eating behaviors just kicked in. And for the next 15 minutes, she was circling, hunting, sniffing, licking, and then looked up to us, licking with satisfaction, her tail wagging. And we all looked at each other and said, Eureka. there has to be a better way to eat. So that's where our whole idea started from.
That's awesome. And then I know you had mentioned before too, a lot of animals, and I've seen this, take their food out of the bowl and put it on the side. Can you describe a little why they do that?
Absolutely. When we're asking our cats and dogs to put their heads into a bowl, it actually blinds their vision, which creates anxiety, because instinctively in the wild, they would always circle their carcass to make sure that nobody could come in and take the food. So the bowl blinds this vision and creates anxiety. So many pets solve that problem by taking the food out of the bowl to a location where they can safely eat, because they can see around them and make sure nobody's going to steal the food. So it really is their instinctive reaction to not wanting to have their vision blinded. But with the pet platter, because there are no sides to it, and because they have complete 360-degree view and movement, they no longer take food off of the feeding device. So we've saved a lot of oriental carpets, among other pieces of furniture, and we're very happy about that.
Which also makes it good for pets who tend to be aggressive, you have said in the past, right? Aggressive eaters, or there's two pets in the same household. That one may want to, that one dog may want to eat the other dog's food and their food, and then you always have the other one that's a little more timid.
Right. The great thing about the pet platter is that it resembles their natural feeding territory in the wild. And we actually had it tested at the University of Illinois Behavioral Center, and they were the ones that informed us that pets adopt this as their personal feeding territory. So with the pet platter, if you have two pets, we have colors, different colors that they adopt as their own color, and they will stick to that color as their personal feeding territory. And they have control over it. It stops food aggression, and it stops guarding and limits the sort of food aggression that can take place when both dogs are eating at the same time. But the whole notion of the pet platter is it resembles their personal feeding territory. And that's why we call it the Mine Platter. They're reclaiming their eating territory.
I love it. See, everyone, I told you I love everything about this platter, because it is just so, like, the science behind it is just amazing. And it makes total sense, especially having our pet who passed having an aggression problem with their food against me, actually. But maybe I'm thinking it was that she felt that she couldn't see outside of her bowl and felt threatened.
Our platter is used at a lot of rescues, and what they found is if the dog does have an aggression issue, feeding it off the platter where they can see around them eliminates that problem. So that's why we do donations to different rescues as well. The reason why dogs behave a certain way, there's always a reason behind it. It's up to us to understand where they're coming from. And the pet platter is based on eating from their point of view, not our point of view.
That's great. Does the Mine Platter's design enhance a pet's eating experience versus a traditional bowl?
Okay, well, the whole notion behind the pet platter, first of all, and I think I'll just hold one up real quick.
Please do.
So everybody could see. It's very, the width is not very wide. But
that's the small, right?
This is small bone. Yeah, it's in the shape of a bone, and it has a ridge that goes all the way around, eating surface here, and then also little scoops that go across. And the whole purpose behind this is it offers a generous surface area, and we recommend that you allow your pet to move around it, because this is how they ate in the wild. Give
So
them.
don't put it up against a wall, which a lot of people have their pet bowls against a wall.
Right. When you think about it, a lot of people put the bowl in a corner.
Yes.
And by putting it in a corner, that pet cannot move and cannot see anything around. And we've also identified that oftentimes when it is a corner, they will eat a lot faster. Okay, so simply by pulling it out of the corner, you're going to make a difference. But with the platter, if you pull this away from the wall, your pet will actually walk around, move around, sniffing and hunting on the surface of the platter. Okay, and because of that, there's no sides to this, it really slows down the eating and it relaxes them. Then, because the food is spread across, they're picking up smaller pieces. So it naturally slows the pace as well as the amount that they eat, which improves digestion. And then these scoops promote licking. And licking is so important because it releases positive endorphins in their brain, which is calming and rewarding. So basically what you've done is to create a natural and healthy eating experience. And one of the most important things to realize is by spreading the foods around and allowing them to sniff out different proteins of food, they will sniff out the highest protein foods first, and almost like in rank order. So you're stimulating their minds, you're stimulating their thinking, because even when wolves and mountain lions eat in the wild, they will eat parts of that carcass depending on their nutritional needs. So we've just basically replicated what Mother Nature does in the wild with this.
And what's great about this is you can feed your pet any type of food on it.
Absolutely.
From kibble to fresh to raw to treats to our CBD oil.
Cultures works great on this.
You can use it for anything, so don't feel just because you feed your pet a specific type of food that it just wouldn't work, which is great. And then also it's good for pets with too much energy and anxiety, because again, the licking promotes those endorphins, but it also gives your pet something to do instead of just throwing their head in the bowl, gobbling up the food and walking away, basically.
We actually had one veterinary who had a problem. She had a rescue dog who used to suffer severe separation anxiety with her. So when she would leave in the morning, the dog would just tear apart her apartment. So we recommended putting peanut butter on there and leaving it. And she did that. She was able to leave her apartment, came home about 8 hours later, and the apartment was fine. The dog was asleep by the platter. The peanut butter was licked all off the platter, and the dog was calm and relaxed. And so all that licking really does relax them. It's sort of like self-soothing. If your dog is anxiety ridden about something, sometimes they'll self-soothe by licking a couch area or a rug area, something like that.
Or their own paw, because of the anxiety. I mean, they get hot spots from licking themselves.
Right. So all we're doing is letting them, build that licking up into a positive experience for them, which relaxes them. And the great thing is, because the pet platter is made with cellulose fiber, it's very warm, and therefore peanut butter really sticks to it, and it takes a lot of effort to get that licked out.
So going back to eating raw food on it really quick, or really any type of food, because you should be washing your platter, I would say, after every single meal, correct?
Everybody does it differently. Okay. Some people just wash it once a day. The thing is, it is non-porous.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about bacteria starting at all. You can also use knives and utensils on there. So if you're one of those people who does homemade meals, you can definitely cut and chop and mix on there. And the other great thing is if you like serving liquids or ice cream, or anything like goat's milk or bone broth, the pet platter can be put in the freezer. So you can pour liquids in there, pop it in the freezer. And when you fill these little scoops here, it acts like little ice cream cones. And my dog likes to eat our scarf off of the pet platter as well and enjoys doing it.
You could also do a golden turmeric paste is so good for your pet.
That's a great idea.
Fill it in there, pop it in the freezer, and then it comes out in little pill-sized forms that you can just dose them every day with.
That's great. That's a great idea. Thank you. I'm going to write that one down.
You're welcome. And I possibly might know that because I'm going to do a turmeric paste DIY video in the next few weeks. So
fantastic.
Which, on a side note, I should just use the platter for that. Okay. Yeah, why did I not think it now? See, now I'm thinking. Okay. And talking about cleaning, it is dishwasher safe, right? So it's
dishwasher safe, bottom rack. You don't have to worry about it at all. And also, one of the things that we wanted to do and make sure about, it's very eco-friendly. It's recyclable and sustainable forestry. And for every pine tree cut down, we use cellulose fiber from some of the pine trees in South Carolina. 5 new trees are hand planted 5 feet apart. So everything about this is eco-friendly, and it's even more energy efficient to manufacture. So we're really being good to the earth was a big part of why we chose the material that we did.
Because it is manufactured in the U.S. also, so it's 100% nice. It's sourced and made. You have to always pay attention because with the labeling, for everyone out there, it can get tricky because the law says you only have to say certain things. So you can be sourcing your ingredients globally, so to speak, and having it made here, or you can be sourcing ingredients here but having it made overseas because it's cheaper. So you want to make sure that you're looking for sourcing and made in the USA when you're paying attention to those items.
Exactly. Just take a few minutes to look at the package, and if the information is not available, contact the manufacturer, because one of the things we're finding right now is that there is a very large increase of cancer in both our cats and dogs. And part of this might be related to the materials that we are serving our pets food from. If a product comes from China, in most cases, it is made of recycled metals and plastics. Why is that important? Because recycled materials like that can contain very unhealthy and toxic chemicals that will leach when your pet is licking from there. And one of my favorite stories was a woman came up to me during a visit that I was doing at a retail store. And she said, okay, I have a question for you. When I get back from a long walk with my dog and my dog is just panting, I have 2 bowls, water bowls, one downstairs, one upstairs. My pet will always go to the upstairs bowl first to check to see if there's water there. Why does he do that? And I said, in all likelihood, your water bowl on your first floor contains some sort of toxic odor that is leaching or leaking from the bowl. And sure enough, she found out that it was a porcelain water bowl. There were cracks in it, and the dog did not prefer that bowl out of eating. So we've talked about this before. that dogs can smell 50 feet under the ground. Their sense of smell, that's basically how they see the world. They can pick up on that immediately.
40 times more than humans.
Exactly. That's a statistic that you
Feet is good too, but I think if you combine them, it's important, and it's just easy then to realize how much more they really smell. And when you are having your pet eat or drink out of something consistently, you have to think about that every single day, how many times a day they do that. That those toxins are being released. And then with our pets living longer than they ever have, the disease comes into play, that too. So it's just, I think it's the combination of both. And that goes really quickly. I want to touch on, I know I've said this before, but the Kong, for instance, because the Kong is so huge, and I don't want to knock any Kong lovers out there, because I'm not going to lie, I've had one in the past, before I had all this knowledge, but that is not made with, let's say, great material. Is that correct?
It is globally sourced, so I'm not sure where it comes from, but this is a case where pet parents can get involved, contact the manufacturer, and find out where something comes from. I think that together we can form a community where we're very upfront about where our material comes from, to ensure that, we can make the choice about the materials that our pet is interacting with. I think that's an important element of all of us being in the pet industry.
Right, and just to know that there's other alternatives to using that specific item. There's going to be an alternative like the pet platter, or something similar that where it was sourced and made. So just to touch on that, because I know that's a really big thing.
And one of the things I'd like to share as well is that, many people assume that when you get a stainless steel bowl, everything is fine. But stainless steel bowls contain molding fluid on there. So you should be very careful. It's very toxic, and you should run it through your dishwasher 10 to 15 times to make sure all of those elements are off. So it's just another precautionary move. We hired an engineer to help us understand the world of materials better. And so we learned a lot in the process as well. And this is for our own feeding devices that we eat off of as well.
That's so true. And I feel like a really bad pet parent now. So
not at all. We're all learning this together at the same time. We're creating a pretty good world for our pets.
I agree, but I think also as the environment is going through so many changes and problems, it's just more important. We're becoming more educated on what's really happening and why it's been happening. And because of how our pets are living and how we're feeding them and how many people have pets, what they are eating and everything about them is affecting the environment too.
Right.
So it's just
all related.
Exactly. The pet platter has been described as a pet eating territory with 360-degree panoramic view. Can you explain? I think we pretty much touched on this already. Like you had said, it has the 360-degree view, so it reduces food guarding and anxiety.
I think the important thing to remember is that in the wild, the carcass was the personal feeding territory of these animals, and there is an instinctive way that they interact with that. And in the wild, they could move 360 degrees and look all around and make sure nobody was coming in. And when you look at it from the pet's point of view, if that food is sitting in a bowl that they cannot interact with at all, it changes the whole eating dynamics. And so the pet platter is simply giving them the comfort that they don't have to worry about anybody coming in, swooping down, and taking anything from them. So we're replicating the carcass in the wild, basically.
Which, I mean, I remember seeing videos of wolves eating and like they are circling that carcass.
Right, right.
We went over, I think, most of the eating behaviors that the pet platter has changed. So I will kind of just go through those quickly. Slows the pace of eating, stops food from being taken out of the feeder, reduces burping, regurgitation, and vomiting, minimizes the risk of bloat, engages finicky eaters. That's another big one. Reduces food guarding, eliminates mindless eating, eliminates boredom, reduces anxious behavior, and increases interest in eating. Which I think are all very important things. And I feel like every pet has at least one on the list, if not 5.
Right.
It's true.
Including my dog, Pip.
Yeah, I mean, I hear this all the time from pet parents, and I've witnessed it myself. So,
well, and if you don't mind me bringing up about slow feeders, because I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I have a slow feeder. One of the advantages of the pet platter is that, again, we are taking it from the pet's point of view. If we were to ask you as a person to sit down at your meal and somebody was sitting there jabbing you in the face with a spoon, that's sort of reflective of what a slow feeder does. It's the dog is trying to get into these small places to get that food. So that plastic is hitting into their noses and they see the world through their noses. So what I try to educate people on is the fact that the pet platter naturally slows the pace of eating and the amount taken, because everything on the pet platter goes down. It doesn't interfere with the dog's nose at all. So it actually builds a healthy relationship with food. Whereas with some of the slow feeders, there's videos of dogs getting frustrated with it, smashing it, trying to get into the food, which can physically harm them. We don't want to create a negative relationship with food, and sometimes the way pets relate to slow feeders, it can cause that.
And with cats, you had mentioned before, with their whiskers, it jabs the whiskers.
Exactly. Cats suffer from whisker fatigue. If they eat from a bowl, their whiskers hit into the sides of the bowl and it acts like little pinpricks. And for some cats, it's so painful, they'll either dump the bowl over or literally take the food to another location so they can eat with, basically pain-free then. So that's why the pet platter is perfect, because there are no sides. The whiskers can really just fly around freely and you don't have to worry about it. But the other thing about cats, and I have been amazed by what I've learned from cat parents out there, they are truly hunters at heart. And they love moving around and stalking the pet platter from different angles and up from bookcases and coming down and pouncing near it. And so the hunter in them, they really enjoy treating the pet platter as their prey and really engage in it quite well. They're fascinating creatures.
Cats can be very picky eaters and they're very texture oriented. So I know sometimes it can be a challenge to get, especially if you're trying to get them to switch food. And I know with treats especially, I mean, a lot of customers will just say, oh, my cat would never eat that. And they're just so picky. Once you find something the cat will eat.
Yeah.
You stick to it.
Oh, and that's another thing, food monotony. Feel free to explore. One of the things that we loved about the platter is it gives you the opportunity to create new menus, integrate new foods, because you can sort of use liquids and different types of proteins and everything else. Food monotony is a very real thing. I volunteer at the Lincoln Park Zoo. We actually give peanut butter to polar bears. They love peanut butter. And gorillas love barbecue sauce. They love to get different tastes. And so anybody who thinks that a dog or a cat cannot be bored with their food, you can. Pets and animals respond to different tastes. So we hope with the Pet Platter, it encourages people to integrate different food ideas and throwing in different proteins, or maybe even creating a homemade meal, or even with if you have any medications to serve, blooming cultures, use the platter for that. The pet will immediately become engaged. They love interacting with it, and they even visit the platter during the day and sometimes sleep by it. It becomes almost like a friend.
And blueberries are really beneficial for your pet. You can freeze them and you could put it in the little holes in it.
Yeah. I'm going to have you do some recipes for us, okay?
Great. That's what
Good. I have to run out and get some blueberries now.
Okay, the Pet Platter, you showed us what it looks like. You showed us the small. So you recommend that for under 30 pounds, and it weighs about 1.5 pounds approximately.
Exactly.
And you have a large, and you recommend that for above 30 pounds, and that weighs about 2 pounds. How many colors does it come in?
We have 3 colors, and I'll show them to you now. I already showed you the red that we have. And we also have, this is a large Pet Platter. This is the goldenrod color. And then we also have these specific colors was because both cats and dogs have different color spectrum than we do. So we selected colors that they can actually see and differentiate between. So if you have 2 different pets or 3 different pets in your household, we recommend giving them a different color. The color that they originally or served their meal on, they will adopt that as their personal feeding territory, and they will no longer venture over to the other pet's feeding territory. So it's really a great way to create some security at feeding time at home. I know a lot of people have come up and said, I have to feed my pets at different times. Mm-hmm. You'll no longer have to worry about that.
And I love that because, again, it goes back to calling it the Mine Pet Platter. It gives your pet something that is theirs. And, they love their own toys. They love their own spot for their bed.
Yeah. So after all, it's all about them.
That's very true.
It is. I know my dog runs this household.
I understand. And every time they jump, we say how high, because they get what they want. How many would you recommend getting if you just have a single dog in your household, and where can you buy them?
Some pet parents love to get one for meals and one for treats. If you do that, the pet will know when they see that colored platter, whether or not it's mealtime or treat time. It's really up to you. And where you can get them, we have an incredible variety of retailers, veterinarians, daycare centers who carry our product, and they're also very good at recommending healthier food choices, and they're really educated on the health and well-being of your dog. If there isn't, those are listed on our website. If there is not a store near you, you can always order on our website. We do online orders at www.minepetplatter.com.
And we'll put that below for everyone.
Okay.
We're going to move on to the Mine Platter won the 2016 Family Choice Award. Why was this so important?
We were really honored. We still to this day do not know who nominated us for this award, but it's important because they take the best products that are highly innovative to benefit family members. And of course, one of those categories is our pets. So by winning the award, it acknowledges our innovation and contribution to the health and well-being of pets. And it's an honor to have an award like that. It really is. We're making a difference, and that's important to us.
And it's such a, like, that you don't know who did it, so that means a lot. Like, you weren't going out there asking people to nominate you.
Yeah.
Some people really just your
I
product
can't wait to find out. Maybe after this is on, maybe somebody will email
will come forward.
The one.
How long did it take to launch your product? And I will add that to what's been the biggest challenge in those years.
Okay. Well, doing a product is not easy. It took over 3 long years, close to 4. And part of the reason why it took so much time is we wanted to make sure that we would have a feeder that would 100% benefit the dog and the cat. And we spent 1 year in research, 1 year in product design, over a year finding the material, and then putting all the pieces together. And so it's something we can be very proud of. And it really makes a difference when you can market a product where people are constantly emailing you saying, thank you for the difference that you made in my pet's life, from slowing them down so they have better digestion, to eliminating or reducing the risk of bloat, to dogs that had to be hand fed who now eat off the platter. It's all about improving the lives of our furry friends who have given so much to us. The interesting challenge that we've had is educating pet parents that how you feed your pet is just as important as what you feed them. Mm-hmm. And so our messaging is you can go out and spend a tremendous amount on the quality of food that you're serving your pet, but if you're not serving it in a way that benefits the delivery of the food, you're limiting those benefits. So we're asking people, think beyond the bowl, think about who your dog and cat really are, and just realize that the only thing we did in developing the platter, we took our lessons from Mother Nature, and our attitude is Mother Nature always knows best.
And again, the material, which it's so important to me that you did it on, is so important too, when you're feeding all that amazing food and then you're putting it on something that's leaching toxins.
Right. But together, we're making this change together, and it's great. It's great. And we love getting feedback. So for anybody who sees us, please give us feedback.
Feedback's always good.
Yes.
And it keeps us going.
It sure does. Some of them are very entertaining. I have to tell you, I've heard from a few pet parents out there that have a great sense of humor. I love it.
Well, that's awesome. And again, everyone buys it. I mean, there's so many problems that it solves. And so it's really it's really for everyone. It's just an amazing platter. Are there any other products in the works?
We will be coming out with a cat platter, probably not until late 2020. But I do want to say that the bone platter shape that we have out right now, it works beautifully with cats. All of our cat pet parents love it. And then we have another surprise new product that we're working on, and I'll be back to tell you personally what it is when we're ready to announce it.
Yay, I'm very excited for that. Um, we have, let's see, our next is, can you share one of the best success stories using the Mine Pet Platter? You had said a pet parent contacted you that they were at their wit's end. Their dog gorged and inhaled food, which led to burping and regurgitation. As the problem continued, they noticed their dog was developing a lot of gas and they became worried about bloat. Can you tell us a little more about this?
Yeah, this was a really sad case because the regurgitation was so chronic that the dog would actually stop eating sometimes because of the discomfort, and then they would go back and gorge on it, and they were in this vicious cycle. And I think with the pet parents, one of the things we've heard a lot is that once you sense that a lot of gas is happening after a dog eats, it's an indication that a bloat situation could be developing. So they tried the pet platter, and after the first eating occasion, they saw a dramatic change. And within a few days, the pet was no longer regurgitating at all. He was taking more time hunting and sniffing and circling around. And that dog happened to be a very good licker. So whatever was put in the scoops, that dog was licking away. And it wasn't only great for the pet that it was eating healthy, it was keeping his food down, there wasn't that discomfort of gas. But the pet parents could also relax because once the gas went away, and there was no regurgitation, you can sit back and say, okay, I don't have to worry about bloat anymore. Because people who have dogs with a tendency for bloat, feeding time is very anxiety producing, not only for the pet but for the pet parent as well. So we were really happy that we could change both of their lives.
Awesome. And also, I know there are certain breeds that are more prone, but dogs don't necessarily have that shut off mechanism of when they are full either.
Yes.
So they can bloat themselves, and they don't realize obviously that they're doing it. They're just gorging on the food until they don't feel well after. As humans, sometimes, yes, we do gorge, but we also realize that while we're doing that, we may not feel good after, but they don't. And that can, I've had one friend that got her dog into problems and had to go to the emergency room because it can actually be very dangerous.
Right. That's such an important point. And I'll tell you, a few of the breeds that really love us are the flat face breeds, because they, like pugs, we have video footage of pugs that can eat at such a tremendous rate. And we have footage of one that he ate his entire meal out of his bowl in about 8 seconds flat, I think it was. And after they used the pet platter, it went up to almost 50 seconds. And then when they started interspersing different types of food on there, the time for consumption went even higher. So, and with flat face breeds, the other problem is if you try to use the slow feeders, they can't get at the food at all, and it can create real serious frustration for them because their whole face is banging up into it.
Because most of the slow feeders are kind of in a circle, yeah, correct, and they have the walls, so it's like a puzzle they're trying to get up or down into, right?
Or else it has things, projectiles shooting out.
Okay.
So for the I keep on saying fat face breeds, their eyes, their face, everything is just being hit upon. And with these slow feeders. So that's why everything with the pet platter is designed to go down. We naturally slow feeding. We don't believe in throwing projectiles into their faces. And it's especially dangerous for the flat face breeds.
What is the one thing that pet parents tell you after using it?
success. It worked. um, and it solves their eating problems, and their pet does not want to go back to eating out of a bowl. It's really interesting. Once your pet eats off of the pet platter, they will rebel against the bowl because there's so much more enjoyment and so much more to do on the pet platter that they'll actually sort of hold back and say, "Can I have my pet platter, Mom? I prefer eating off of that."
And pets do that. If they know that they like something else that you have that they want instead,
Right.
They will just be a little snooty about it until you give it to them. Well, I am so looking forward to rescuing our dog, hopefully next month, and using the pet platter on it or for it. And I never ever want to go back to a bowl. I just think the information about this is so fascinating. It's just not another slow feeder. There's been so much thought and care put into this that I'm just, first of all, I wish it was out years and years ago and I knew about it. I would have changed so long ago. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to educate more people on this, and I appreciate your time, and we look forward to talking to more pet parents and seeing how we can benefit more pets. So thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carol. We'll talk later.
Okay, take good care.
Bye.